Who remembers this show from way back in the day? Beatlemania. Yes, folks, Beatlemania. Well, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Beatlemania today and how it relates to another major topic that I really want to focus in on. But let's touch upon Beatlemania first. So you all know, if you're a Beatles fan, you all know that Beatlemania started way back in 1977. It was a Broadway smash show. The original run ran for approximately 2 years till the end of 1979. It started out at the Winter Garden Theater in New York City on Broadway, and then it moved to a couple of other theaters as the show ended its run, or got near the end of its run, I should say. But it was a fantastic show, and let's face it, it opened the floodgates for hundreds, I would have to say, Beatles tribute bands that have cropped up since in the last 40 plus years. It is all due to Beatlemania. And those of you that don't know what Beatlemania was, well, it's basically a Beatles tribute band, a multimedia extravaganza set to Beatles music with characters, actors, I should say musicians, playing the different Beatles and going through their entire career. And any of you that have seen the Fab Four or 1964, the tribute, there's so many, oh my goodness, I can't even think of all the names right now, but if you've seen a Beatles tribute band, Rain, that's another big one. If you've seen a Beatles tribute band, then you know where they got their foundation from was from Beatlemania way back on Broadway in the old days. And this is a program from the show. I also can show you a official button that I got as part of the fan club. Yes, believe it or not, Matt was part of the Beatlemania fan club. Okay, look at, I can't show my old address and everything, but here's my postmarked envelope from Beatlemania back in 1978, I believe. And inside of it, I got my Beatlemania button. And I got a nice 8x10 picture of the original show cast, which back then, folks, was Joe Pecorino played John, Mitch Weissman played Paul, Leslie Fradkin played George, and Justin McNeil was Ringo. The official Beatlemania fan club. I have it, folks. Okay, if I couldn't be part of the original Beatles fan club, I joined the Beatlemania fan club. Why not, right? As part of that also, let me show you a couple other things here. All right, I'll put that back in there. Got the 8x10 picture. Again, don't want to show my personal information, but I also received a, how can I do this here? All right. Got my fan club card. Beatlemania, official. Got my card, which basically says, this is to certify as a charter member in good standing of the official Beatlemania fan club, West 55th Street, New York, New York, and is entitled to all membership privileges. Ooh, wow, wonder what those were. And it was dated in the summer of 1978 and signed a faux signature by Murray the K. Kaufman himself. Yes. Look down the bottom there on my membership card. I don't know if you can see it. Murray the K. Kaufman. So I still have my membership card to the Beatlemania fan club. I received a nice letter signed again, faux signature from Murray the K., the fifth Beatle and chairman, welcoming me to the Beatlemania fan club. Okay, my name's not on this one, so I don't have to, but there it is. All right, I'll put it up close if you want to try to freeze that and read it. From Murray the K. Murray! I always thought Murray was a little over the top, but anyway, that's a story for another video. So there you go, got my official welcoming letter, and I received a nice poster advertising the show. Hung on to all these things, folks, after all these 42 plus years. Nice poster, Beatlemania. As I say, I have the program. I'm going to show you more about that in a minute. I have the album, Beatlemania the album. Who has this? Remember when this came out way back in the day? Well, I grabbed one. Not the Beatles, well, we knew that, but an incredible simulation. Live at the Winter Garden Theater. Okay, so I've got my Beatlemania album, and again, I have my button. But let's go back to this program for a minute, because now we're going to transition into something else here for a couple of minutes. One of the nice byproducts of Beatlemania, I mean, you had people like Mitch Weissman who had, you know, a little bit of fame after the show and everything, and some of the other cast members in that original crew. And here's the book, and here's that poster I have, and, you know, images and songs from the production. Nice picture there. Okay, but let's go to the center spread here. This is the one I really want to focus in on, the Beatlemania groups. Don't forget, it was on Broadway for 2 years. Then it went to different theaters all across America and even overseas in some instances. So there was a lot of need for, you had to have understudies and backup crews and cast. So I'm not sure how many there were total in the Beatlemania, you know, canon of artists. But in this one here, I'm showing at least, you know, 24 young men who were selected to play parts in Beatlemania. Here's the original crew down here. Remember, I just showed you that 8x10 picture I have. But let's focus on this group right here. Let's zoom in on that group right there. See these guys right here in the black suits? Right there. You had a couple of noted people in that group, okay? And I will name them. But I'm really going to focus in on today. Glenn Burtnick played Paul. Okay? Glenn Burtnick, you may know if you're a fan of, you know, the Fest for Beatle fans or just music in general. He's currently part of the band called The Weaklings, great band. Check them out. He was also a member of Styx for a few years and was on at least 2 of their albums and a couple of their hits, noted hits. He's had a pretty successful solo career. He's been with other groups. He's done a lot of studio work. He's written some top 40 songs for other artists. He's just multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, Glenn Burtnick. Great guy, all right? I met him once briefly at a Fest for Beatle fans, and he was very cordial to the fans. But this isn't really about Glenn. Let's focus in on the John Lennon in this cast. There's John right there. See him? And that, folks, is the great, one of my favorite power pop and rock and roll artists of all time, Marshall Crenshaw. How many have heard of Marshall Crenshaw? I hope you have. Marshall's got a pretty good resume behind him. Marshall was in one of the original cast of Beatlemania. He came out of the greater Detroit area back in the mid to late 70s, moved to New York City, got a part in Beatlemania, and the rest is history for Marshall. As you know, with Marshall Crenshaw, he went on to greatness with top 40 hits, numerous major label release albums. He's written songs for other artists like the Gin Blossoms that have become big hits. He also wrote the theme to the movie Walk Hard. Did you ever see that kind of spoof on the whole Johnny Cash career thing called Walk Hard a few years ago? Really funny movie, great movie. Check it out. And Marshall wrote the title track Walk Hard for that movie. He also, his band had a little cameo in the movie back in the 80s called Peggy Sue Got Married with Nicolas Cage, and that was pretty funny. The band is in the background during a dance scene. Kathleen Turner also stars in that movie. Check that out. But his biggest acting spot has to be in the great movie in the late 80s called La Bamba, where he played Buddy Holly and did a fabulous rendition of Crying, Waiting, Hoping in that movie, and you can get it on the soundtrack, and it's fabulous. So Marshall Crenshaw is a noted guy, and even currently he's still out there touring, doing solo stuff. He's currently doing a side gig playing lead singer and guitarist with the Smithereens. As you know, and if you should know the Smithereens, great rock and roll band from the 80s and 90s. And Marshall's out on tour with them, and there's even talk that they may record some new music with Marshall Crenshaw as the lead singer. So that will be special. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Marshall Crenshaw and say, just a great artist, folks, somebody you should check out. He's awesome, he's fabulous, and so I want to do that right now with you. So, let me get some stuff squared away here. 1982, after he left Beatlemania, Marshall signed a major label contract with Warner Brothers Records and released a series of fabulous albums. The first one's just self-titled, Marshall Crenshaw. It has the big hit on it called Someday, Some Way. Check that out. There's also a lot of other rock hits on here that were on the radio and such, like Cynical Girl, Marianne, She Can't Dance. Folks, if you like Motown, Buddy Holly, the Beatles, power pop, great rock and roll, a great history-made rock and roll brought up into the modern era at that time, the 1980s, get the first Marshall Crenshaw album. And any of you that have it can attest, I'm sure, what a wonderful album it is. So you put that one out. 2 years later, he put out a great second album, I felt. Some people criticized it a little bit because he went with a different producer. He went with Steve Lillywhite, who produced U2. But he put out a great second album called Field Day. And Marshall never liked this cover. He hated that picture of himself on it. But good news, though, recently, in the not-too-distant past, a reissue of Field Day has been done, artist approved by Marshall, with a whole new cover that he approved of. And it's a fabulous double album. You get the original Field Day all remastered, and then you get a US remix EP with like 6 songs on it, 5 or 6 songs on it, with some remixed versions of songs from Field Day. You get a live cut of him doing a cover of Elvis Presley's Little Sister, which is fantastic, and you get some extended versions. But it's a great double vinyl. It's not out not too long ago, and it's fabulous. Field Day has been reimagined and reissued with a whole new cover. Check it out. Great album. Okay, his third album came out in 1985 and is called Downtown. He worked with T-Bone Burnett on this one, and it's a fabulous little rock and roll album, folks. Downtown. 1987, a couple of years later, he put out Mary Jean plus 9 Others, which is I love this cover, but also it's just a wonderful album. Fantastic, folks. I'm a Marshall Crenshaw fanatic. I love the guy, I love his music, and there's not a bad one in my book, okay? In 1989, his last album with Warner Brothers was called Good Evening. Check it out. Great, great album. Then he signed another major label contract with MCA Records and released one album with them called Life's Too Short. 1991. Again, folks, a great, great album. I mean, power pop, melodic, hooks. Marshall's a fantastic guitar player, top-notch, underrated. His guitar work on these albums is unbelievable. So check them out, folks. You won't go wrong. In 1996, he put out an album which was nominated for a Best Album Design Grammy. I don't think it won, but it was nominated. 1996, Miracle of Science. All right. Very cool album. The design of it. These pictures kind of flip back and forth. You can make different images of Marshall, which kind of I'll show you real quick here. I don't want to waste too much time, but you got this, and then you open it up, and he's doing that, and then he makes a face, and then if you open, it's like just a really cool design. Reminds me of Walls and Bridges a little bit, the John Lennon album from way back. But it was nominated for a Grammy on the design, and the music inside is wonderful. Great rock and roll and power pop melodic. I mean, I could say about every one of his albums. This one, as a matter of fact, next month, this one's going to be reimagined with a new reissue. It's going to be on vinyl, CD, download. They're going to remix and remaster everything. He's added bonus cuts to it. So be on the lookout for Miracle of Science next month, early 2020. That should be out. A couple of years later, in 1999, he released the stellar 447. It's called Number 447. 2003, he released What's in the Bag. Fantastic album. I mean, again, I could just sing these superlatives about Marshall and his albums over and over again. Wonderful. Okay, 2009, 6 years. He waited 6 years between albums, and he put out Jagged Land in 2009. Again, fabulous. Great, great, great album. Guitar-laden, hooks. He's fabulous, folks. He's unbelievable. And then in 2015, after a series he released a bunch of 6 EPs where you got a new song, so that was 6 new songs. Then he did 6 covers, 6 covers, so you have 12. And then he reimagined or reissued like a live version of one of his older songs. So there were 3 songs on each EP, but then what he did is he took the 6 new songs and the 6 cover songs, and he released the EP collection on CD back in 2015. Great stuff. And last but not least, a couple of quick compilations. If you really want to get into Marshall Crenshaw, but you don't want to get all the albums, I mean, I say get as many as you can, but, you know, get this one. This is called This Is Easy, the best of Marshall Crenshaw. Single disc. You could probably get it for a few bucks online, I bet. Okay, grab that one. This Is Easy, the best of Marshall Crenshaw. Or if you want a little more expanded one, this is a 2-disc set. It's called the Definitive Pop Collection, Marshall Crenshaw. Folks, unbelievable. Look at the material you get on there. And this was great because you get Crying, Waiting, Hoping from La Bamba on here as well. And it's a fabulous version of it. You'd love it. So that's it, folks. I just wanted to give a little love to the great unsung hero, Marshall Crenshaw. Check out his brand new Field Day release. Hasn't been out too long. Nice double vinyl, beautiful set, approved by Marshall. Check out the new Miracle of Science coming out very soon. And that's it, folks. This is my love for Marshall Crenshaw. And if anyone knows Marshall Crenshaw out there, send this video to him, will you? Let him know that there's a lot of people out there that love him, love his career and his music, and just want to wish him well. And I want to wish all of you well. Thanks for being here. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.